Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, my dear respected viewers. We begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity for us to continue in our lessons in the commentary of Aqeedah Sanusiyyah. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with forgiveness, that Allah bless us with the understanding, tawfiq and hidayah, that we are able to understand the subject, and may Allah protect us from all difficulties, trials and tribulations in dunya and akhirah, and bless us with husnul khatimah. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. So inshallah ta'ala we will revise so many of the things that we mentioned in our last lesson. And we were speaking about sifatul af'al. So I hope that those who are following in our class, they can follow inshallah, and is aware about some of the things that we have mentioned in the past. So I would like to sum up in simple words of basically what the author is emphasizing about the difference between sifat al-ma'ani and sifatul af'al. But before we do that, we mentioned that sifatul af'al and it refers to the action of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is linked to the qudrah of Allah, linked to the omnipotence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the connection between the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the creation, the link is the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah brought everything into existence. So everything was brought into existence by Allah, or we say this is an effect of the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the difference between sifat al-af'al, which is the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is linked from the qudrah of Allah, which is a sifa. The qudrah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is an attribute that subsists within the entity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it does not subsist within the entity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the important thing that I would like to say it again. And we will do it, this revision again. And there are certain mistakes in translation that I have mentioned in the WhatsApp group after the class last week, which I will. Number 2, actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, jaiz aqli, it is from the possibilities, whereas the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wajib aqli, it is the absolute necessary. So this is a difference between sifat al-ma'ani and sifatul af'al. So for those of you who wants to understand this qualitative attributes, sifat and al-ma'ani are attributes that subsist within the entity of Allah. That's what we mentioned. Qa'imatun bidhatihi ta'ala. Sifatun azaliyatun qa'imatun bidhatihi ta'ala. It subsists within the entity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is an attribute that is in existence, wujudiyah. Whereas the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in existence in terms of its essence, but it is an ascription to the qudrah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the last part of our lesson last week, we were covering the part where the author is trying to explain about the difference between sifat al-ma'ani that subsists within the entity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that does not subsist within the entity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I mentioned and he also mentioned, the author mentioned, that it is impossible that an attribute that is contingent to subsist within the entity, the divine entity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is impossible. Because if that happens, then it will entail that the entity of Allah is contingent, and this is false, and impossible. So the entity, the qualitative and the attributes, they are in existence. This is what the author mentioned, kharij az-zihn, outside any of the human mind. Now this is the term. Let us go back to the translation. This is where we are. We are at page 134. And for those and you have the book. The author mentioned another reason for this is the translation. No, before that. He mentioned the actions have only been counted as his attributes because they are from his divine omnipotence. I hope this is clear, inshallah. Why it is called sifatul af'al? Because af'al is from his sifa, the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they are an effect of the attributes of Allah. And because they are possible meaning jaiz, they do not subsist within his entity. This is the actions of Allah. They do not subsist within the entity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That which is impossible does not subsist within his exalted entity. Any things that are impossible, things that are jaiz, possible, this is what he said, that which is possible, the jaiz or the hadith, it cannot subsist within the entity of Allah, because that will entail that Allah is also hadith, and this is mustahil. And then he mentioned, now this is where we have to make some correction. I have alerted the author, and he acknowledged this. Another reason for this, he said, is because the attributes that subsist within his entity do not have an actual presence outside the human mind. Now, this is the thing that we have to rectify. This is the thing that we have to rectify. What is the rectification? It is the opposite. So it sounds like this. Another reason for this is because the attributes. What is the meaning of the attributes here? This he's speaking about sifat al-ma'ani, because he said that subsists within his entity. Only sifat al-ma'ani subsists within the entity of Allah. Only sifat al-ma'ani subsists within the entity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as attributes. What is the fault? The fault is do not have an actual presence. Now this is the fault. So we have to cancel this not, N-O-T, cancel. For those who have the kitab, cancel this. With the body of a horse, there is a man with a body of a horse and walking in the streets in Singapore. I imagine. So this is within my mind, my imagination. But if I ask the question, does this actually happening outside the human mind? Now this is the thing here. Yes, you can imagine within your minds, but does the thing that you imagine have an existence outside your mind, meaning something that you see in reality? A man with the body of a horse. The answer is no. So this is just an imagination. This is just an ascription. Something that is ascribed. Just like we gave an example last week. We gave an example, but this is a bit different. Father and son. We say, what is any fatherhood? Is fatherhood in existence, or it is an ascription? It is ascribed. You have a father and you have a son. Where is any fatherhood? So fatherhood does not exist, but it is ascribed to a relationship between father and son. It is understood in the human mind. It is understood, but in reality, in essence, it is non-existential. It is not in existence. So this is what in Arabic we call it amrun i'tibari. I'tibari, meaning you can understand, but it does not have a real existence outside the human mind.